Is Ed Lachman just being a grumpy old man, or is he on to something? Hey everyone, how's it going? My name is Nate Caywood, and I'm a Los Angeles-based cinematographer, and I created this YouTube channel with the intention of breaking down the work of the best cinematographers on the planet, in the hopes that if I reverse engineer their work, I might be able to figure out what they're doing, steal those tricks, and hopefully you guys can learn something along the way. Earlier this week, legendary cinematographer Ed Lachman ASC was on the Team Deacons podcast. If you aren't listening to the Team Deacons podcast, strongly recommend it. Incredible insight into the craft of cinematography by Roger and James Deacons and a guest. This week they had Ed Lachman, ASC, who was on. He was nominated for an Academy Award for shooting the film Maria with Angelina Jolie this year. He also shot a movie called El Conde 2 years ago, which I thought was also nominated for Academy Award for Best Cinematography, and it was incredible. We will get into those images later in the episode. So while on the podcast, Lachman mentions that he feels like contemporary films, one movie in particular that he called out, which we're about to dive into the images of, and you tell me what you think. He says it's too mushy. He says everything's too mushy. He feels like contemporary cinematographers are just opening lenses wide open and NDing down to get exposure, but it causes everything to be blurry in the background. And he's wondering why, which I think is a great question. So we're going to hop into the images, and I want you guys to let me know what you think. Is he on point, or is he kind of being a dog, you know? Okay, so the first film that we're going to talk about today is Baby Girl. The reason why we're talking about that is because it's the film that Ed Lachman called out specifically in the podcast. He said specifically, Baby Girl is too mushy. So let's see what that means. When he was describing Too Mushy, what he was talking about at the moment of the podcast with Roger and James Deacons was that he was asking how Roger felt about shooting anamorphic lenses. And as we know, anamorphic lenses have different optical qualities, and that creates a different bokeh in the background. The blur, the depth of field is different. Ed Lachman does not shoot with anamorphic lenses very frequently, and Roger Deacons almost never shoots anamorphic lenses. That's how we got here. This is what we're talking about. So guys, please forgive me. Shot Deck has not put out Baby Girl yet on the platform, and so I just went to YouTube and I pulled screen grabs from the trailer. So yes, it has a watermark of A24 in it, and the timeline thing, I'm sorry, I know I could have formatted it in a different way, but I kind of want to breeze through these so we can get to Ed Lachman's images so we can do a juxtaposition of the two. Okay, please be kind. This is an image of Nicole Kidman from the film Baby Girl. This background stuff right here is what Ed Lachman is complaining about. The fall off on her face, like her face is sharp, and honestly the lens is so wide open that it looks like her hair is out of focus. So her eyeball is in focus, her hair is out of focus. Is this too mushy? You tell me. Let's go to another image that I've grabbed from the trailer. This is a picture of Nicole Kidman. This eye is in focus, this eye is out of focus. That is how narrow the depth of field is, that only one single eye is in focus at a time. Again, Lachman is complaining because of how mushy the background is. Okay, where is she? What he's saying is like there's no context to these close-ups. You see them in the wide, and then you cut into their close-up, and then you're just in this amorphous blob. I gotta be honest, I didn't notice it when I was watching Baby Girl because I was interested in the story, but Lachman noticed, and he's telling the world. This is another image from Baby Girl, all completely blurry, all completely out of focus. The depth of field is causing the what is in focus to pop against the blurry background. Lachman is saying it's mushy. Is it mushy? You tell me. By the way, just want to take a quick aside here to say art is subjective. Creativity is subjective. The reason why I'm drawn into cinematography, the reason why I love it in the first place is because of the subjective nature of using technology to help tell story. Like, that's so cool to me. So let's just all keep that in mind and be respectful in the comments. This is arguably the most iconic image from the film, and I think Lachman might have a point, actually, because look, she's in focus. Great, love that. Everything is out of focus. There's an argument. It's like, why are you even putting these in places? Like, you can't see where they're at. Why are you even hiring these background actors? What, you don't see them. It's like, why have a production designer if you're not going to shoot production design? Again, this is an open dialogue. Let me know what you think. That wraps up the section of where we're talking about Baby Girl and Ed Lachman's critique of its mushiness. Now, let's hop into Ed Lachman's work, of which I am a fan. And after listening to this or doing this and pulling images from his films from Shot Deck, it made me realize that there are a lot of his movies that I actually haven't seen before, and I want to go watch them. So now, Ed Lachman, you're on my watch list. All right, let's go to the first film. This one I'm very excited to talk about because I have seen this Ed Lachman film and I'm obsessed with it. This is called El Conde. This film is shot completely in black and white. They used a monochrome sensor from the Alexa, if I'm not mistaken. He shot them on some custom Baltar lenses that he has specifically built himself. So Lachman's critique is that everything was too mushy. Is this image mushy? I don't think this image is mushy. Look at how much depth you can actually see. Look at, this is in focus. She is in focus. These columns are in focus. This is in focus. So the depth of field that's in focus is from the edge of this frame. Hold on, let me get rid of all this stuff so you can see it. This edge is in focus. And I think to about right here. This is in focus. So what are we talking about? What's he shooting at? An 11? A T11? Like, no joke. Like, let me know if you understand or know more mathematically what depth of field would be in focus for something like this. But I'm like, whoa, is he shooting a T8, a T11? A T16 in between there somewhere. I do want to talk about what I love about this image. First of all, black and white cinematography and photography I'm always really interested in because there are so many tricks that you can pull when you have color contrast and all that sort of stuff you can't get away with black and white, and it's just so beautiful. So I'm assuming that these little archways are just like skylights that have ambient level that he could push through there. That's sort of, I think, what's creating the ambient level. That would be my bet. And then there's a huge sky porthole thing. I don't know if that's actually outside and then she walks through to another building, or if this is just a big hole in the ceiling which allows wetness and water to come into this sort of mausoleum type thing. I don't know, but I'll tell you what, I love it. She is silhouetted against an open door. Love that. Key light, wet down. Holy buckets. This is a beautiful image. If I could shoot this, which I probably can't, I would be so incredibly pleased with my day of work. Now that we're looking at his images, does he know what he's doing? I think he does. This is a film called The Virgin Suicides, directed by Sofia Coppola. I believe it's from the late 90s. This was definitely shot on film. Let's talk about depth and focus. Are things too mushy? This element in the foreground, that's a tree. It's in focus. This person is a character. They're in focus. This car, it's in focus. It does look like they have fallen off a little bit in focus. It looks like the focal plane is like right here. But that means from this tree to that beyond the actors is in focus. And it's not that this is like super out of focus. It's right, like I can still see the texture and all of this sort of stuff in the crown molding on the next door house. I can see the texture in the bricks. Like if you had this at a shallow depth of field, if you were shooting this at a 2.8, let's say, this person would be in focus, this would be out of focus, the entire background would be out of focus to a considerable degree. So again, what's he shooting at? T8. I know that I like this image because I can see and feel the texture and the depth in it. Like, I like that. So Ed Lachman kind of talking crap, throwing a little shade, is actually giving me the opportunity to look a little bit closer at some of these images and analyze them. Man, dude, I don't know. I need to look it up to see what sort of stock they shot this on, but this color rendering of this film, I'm obsessed with. Oh my gosh, the greens and the yellows, I love it. Like, the production design elevates it with her dress being yellow and him being in all these beiges and browns and stuff like that. But man, like the teal pops to me, but it's still warm. And I love it. This is like the look that I love. So I'm going to try and steal that someday. Okay, let's move on. This is a film called Far From Heaven. And Far From Heaven is a touchstone of the film that Roger and James Deacon spoke to Ed Lachman a lot about in this podcast. This is a film I have not seen, full disclosure. But after listening to the podcast, I was like, yo, I got to check out this movie. And then I immediately went to Shot Deck and I was like, what does this movie look like? They won't stop talking about it. And wowie. This guy here in the foreground, he's out of focus. This guy is starting to fall out of focus. This dude is definitely out of focus, right? So we've got some sort of, this part is in focus, basically. So he's not shooting at a deep stop for every image, but he does say specifically in the podcast that while shooting this film and many other films that he does lean on color contrast to create the illusion of depth, right? So that, you can see that there's like purple here, there's purple here, there's purple here in this. There's a purple highlight here. Everything else is green, right? So that gives us the illusion of depth and makes it pop. So does this image feel mushy? I don't think it does. What an interesting and bold image. That's what I will say. Maybe the mushy nature of things is the fact that He's railing against the lack of point of view, possibly, or just like choice in what you're doing, because this is such a strong image. These are such strong choices. This is a film called Paradise: Hope. It is from a trilogy, the Paradise trilogy. I pulled this image because it really made me think a lot, to be totally honest, which is, how do you create depth and interest in just a white hallway? And I think that he has done that pretty well. Obviously, all the overhead lights are turned off. He has used hard light coming through each open door. There's an open door right here, hard light coming through there, blasting, hitting the wall over there. There is a window back here that he is exposed for, so you can still see depth and texture in the window, so that's not blown out, right? So he is exposed for this window, and then just used hard light here through this door window, hard light here through this door, and then the one door that the guy is approaching is not open, obviously, and it doesn't have hard light coming through it, so it creates him to be silhouetted down against the level. And it looks like this right here is starting to be in focus, and somewhere back here is starting to be out of focus, so quite a length of focus here. This is arguably one of the simplest lighting setups that you could do, right? Like, I mean, I know that there are a number of fixtures pushing daylight through these open doors, but like the thought process behind it is very simple, right? Which is like, okay, let him be dark, expose the hallway, and then blast a bunch of light through the doors to create depth, texture, and shape along this very linear, very white, very boring set. Good job, Ed Lachman. This guy might know what he's talking about. This is a film called Less Than Zero. This is a very young... This is Robert Downey Jr. I guess the argument is that these bulbs right here that are super out of focus, that have the fall off, you can see the bokeh, it's stopped down a little bit. He's probably at like, 2.8 or whatever, or 4. I guess those are the things that you would say that creates the illusion of depth in this image. Otherwise, Ed, you're looking pretty mushy here, my guy. You know what I mean? Like, what he's complaining about in the other images is not that far off of the texture and depth that we got going on here. Now, I'm sure that he would argue that, yes, this is actually a huge anchor for depth, and so it's not that mushy. And that he would say this use of color contrast here, which is like, oh, this blue color contrast right here, and this overall green vibe right here, and this... bringing back this level. I don't know if you'll be able to see it because of YouTube compression, but there's still like a little bit of blue reflection that's happening here. And then, oh, look, another hot, hard, warm light hitting him from the back. And you're like, okay, well, that's this sort of checkerboardy type color contrast thing that creates the illusion of depth. So there is an argument that, yes, this is mushy, but also, man, when you're looking at the subject where he wants you to look, to take your eye to, there's color contrast and there's depth, literal contrast and color contrast in the person's face. Which, there's an argument that was also lacking a little bit in Baby Girl, but I don't want to shit on Baby Girl. I liked Baby Girl. I wanted to bring this one up because I wanted to throw a little shade towards Ed Lachman because, again, there could be the argument that this is a little mushy, bro. This is a little mushy, dog. So he without sin cast the first stone, as they say. But in Ed Lachman's defense at this moment in time, if I remember correctly in the film, it's like sort of a flashback or it's like a retelling of a moment. And it was like she's sort of being caught doing something that she's not supposed to do. It's like sort of, it's not intimate, but it's just like, it's us seeing behind the curtain of a young high school aged girl. And we as the audience are led into it. So there is like a level of intimacy involved with it. Whereas like, if you're going to have mushy images anywhere, intimacy is probably the place to do it. So Ed, do you get a free pass? Let me know in the comments below. Is Ed getting a free pass on this image being kind of mushy? It's a gorgeous image. The quality of light on her skin is really, really, really great. The position too, like just a nice little kiss right here. All the fall off is really nice. But that's film. That's what happens when you shoot on film. Look at the skin tone. It's just really lovely. Mushy, arguably. Could be mushy, but really lovely. This is Carol, which is Rooney Mara and Cate Blanchett, shot on 16mm film. He uses a lot of saturated and really, really intense colors in this film, as well as some of his work. And man, I do really like the way that this looks. There's depth that even though she's out of focus, she's creating the illusion of depth. They framed it in a way that the actual car doors is framing the window of the frame. You get to see two different layers of the car, so you're creating depth of where you're at. The way that she is keyed is there is an incredibly soft light front facing her this direction, coming from straight at her. You can hear, I'm going to get rid of all this stuff so you can see what I'm talking about. You can tell because of this light fall off right here and this fall off there, but it is incredibly soft front light that is hitting her. You can see the eye catch in her eye. That might be something that they have going straight this direction as well in front of the car. If I were Ed Lachman, which I am not, but if I were to speak for him, I think that he would say this image is not mushy because of this edge light right here. That is the thing that creates this to have depth and texture. The difference between here to this side of her face creates so much depth and so much the illusion of depth and texture. I'm really grateful that he was like sort of throwing shade publicly, which is probably not the nicest thing to do about other people's work, but I am grateful that he did it because it did give me the opportunity to analyze some of his work, and I am really impressed by it. The things that I'm learning are he uses layers, whether it's monochromatic light, black and white, or he's using color contrast. He's using quite a lot of layers of different quality of shape and hardness of lights to create the illusion of depth. His framing is impeccable. That helps create the illusion of depth. He really understands where to put the camera to create layers of us feeling both light and dark and foreground and background layers, which is really incredible too. So, okay guys, let me know what you think. I did not use CineTracer this week. I've been getting a little bit of feedback that it feels like it might not be the best tool to use while on video. So like, let me know how you feel. If you've gotten to this point in the video and you're a fan of CineTracer, let me know in the comments below, because then I'll continue to do it. But I have had comments of people not loving it. So I just want to make sure that I'm making the content that you guys feel is really helpful and valuable. The act of making it helps me very much. I'm learning so much, and I'm so grateful for you guys. I am starting to feature a lot more short form content. I'm realizing that that's important. I'm trying to build more of a community. So keep your eye out for some short form stuff. I'm hoping to start doing some really, really long form live stuff. So where I stream for like an hour or 90 minutes, and then we can all chat with each other and talk about cinematography, and we'll see how it goes. Not sure when I'm going to be able to do that, but it's something that I am planning for in the future. So stay tuned, guys. Okay, like, subscribe, leave me a comment below. Don't forget, there is a membership program. So if you guys are looking for more in-depth, nerdy videos, that's where I put those. And we'll speak soon. Cheers.